Good morning, good afternoon, good night. I'm Blackbright and I'm broadcasting out of the UK, and I talk on topics that affect US citizens or US illegal immigrants, and the same in the UK. And I talk about different topics actually. I should say I talk about any subject where I believe that individuals are either being treated unfairly, are not informed, do not know their rights, and who could be helped by a visual explanation. Because when you think about things, we all have different ways of learning. Some people can't read, so they prefer the video. They prefer to see. Some people like to do one-on-one. Some people, they have different types of learning techniques. Some people are aesthetic. It's got to do with the way the environment is and how things look. They're aesthetic learners. So we all have different ways of learning. But what is important, that whatever media we use, it helps the person who needs to be helped. And that is where I feel I come in. I help those who might not be able to read complicated documents and who do not understand jargon, and I try to put it in the most straightforward way possible. Except for when I'm quoting from something, I can't. Anyway, today I thought I would talk about undocumented persons, whether you want to call them illegal immigrants, whether you want to call them unauthorized, out of status, whatever it is, they're in the country, they're not supposed to be here, and that is the fact. For me, I draw a distinction between an illegal immigrant and an undocumented immigrant, because to me, illegal immigrants, they come on the back of a lorry, and I mean that literally. They come on those boats, they're trafficked in, and those kind of things. They use fraudulent documents, they commit crimes to survive. Those are what I call illegal immigrants. I do not call those who have overstayed illegal immigrants. I call them undocumented immigrants, but for the purposes of this, it applies to both. Now, undocumented immigrants, they do have certain rights, and they are treated differently. Illegal immigrants, they're deported. They've usually committed a crime, or they would have had to have committed a crime to be deported. Those who have overstayed, they are removed from the UK and they stay out of the country for a year. And I'm not quite sure if that's why they prefer to deport them, because when you deport them, they can't come back for 10 years. But regardless of the pedantics, what I want to know is, what is the difference between an illegal citizen, an undocumented citizen, and a stateless person? Because when you think of the 4th and 5th Amendment in America, and I'm sure they've got the equivalent in the UK, I just don't know where it is, the illegal immigrant, they don't seem to have the rights of the 4th and 5th Amendment, because they say that the 4th and 5th Amendment are for American citizens only. And when you look at the Constitution, that applies to whites only, even though you have people of colour who are also citizens. But once again, I'm not going to get into that. We're going to say, for the purposes of the argument, that the 4th and 5th Amendment, which I'm going to read out now, covers American citizens, whether they're naturalised citizens, born in the US, or whether they're from the grandparent down, they're citizens. Anyway, the 4th Amendment. The right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued except on probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person of things to be seized. Now, from that I gather, you can't just go into somebody's house and take what you want and do what you want and grab up people as you wish. That the 4th Amendment doesn't allow that. The Fifth Amendment states no person shall be held to answer for capital or infamous crime unless on prescience or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, in actual service or in time of war or in public danger, or shall any person be subjected to the same offence to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. That last bit is the eminent law. But anyway, what we're finding now is that people are being picked up. Undocumented persons, illegal immigrants, they are being picked up. They are being requested to be a witness against themselves. They are being abused. They are being committed of crimes even before that, you know, they've gone through the process, the legal process, and, you know, due process needs to be implemented. But if, like they're saying, that this only applies to American citizens, would that put illegal immigrants and undocumented immigrants in the same category as stateless persons? Because stateless persons don't have any rights. You know, if they're in a country, there's nobody to come and help them. So what is the difference? So I was thinking about that, and I don't think that a person who is an illegal immigrant should be treated the same as a stateless person, because there has to be a distinction. There has to be a situation where one receives more rights than the other. But in this situation, it appears that whether you're stateless or whether you're not, as long as you're an illegal immigrant, you are considered under the stateless umbrella. And that can't be right. When you think about those who overstay, it is about surviving. I don't believe that when they ask a cousin or an uncle if they can borrow their ID, that they're thinking that they're doing a criminal act, even though they know it's wrong. I think what they think they're doing is, I've got to help out the family. I can't be sponging off these people. I've got to be able to buy myself some food. I've got to be self-sufficient. And yes, they aren't supposed to be in the country. But as long as they're not thieving and killing and doing all those kinds of stuff, which a lot of them aren't, I think it's a minority that are in drugs and alcohol. And the thing is that they're actually being driven in that direction, because if they can't work, if they can't do anything, how are they supposed to live? I know, tell me, send them back, let them go back to where they come from. But how do they pay to do that? How do they get to do that? I know that they have some programs where if you've overstayed, they'll actually give you a grant of about £500 and pay your fare back. I don't know if that's in America, but I heard that in the UK, but somebody violated that. They took that voluntary departure thing, took the 500 quid, went back to the country and only snuck back in again. Now, that's not right. But if these people, if it's advertised or that these people will get their fare paid, will be given an amount to get them started, I'm sure a lot of people would jump to it. Like I said, I don't know if they have that in the US. But anyway, there has to be some protection in some way. People have to, by rights, be able to live and have a sense of protection and security. Yeah, I know they're driving out low wages, and, you know, I know they're keeping the wages low, and housing is going up because there's just too many. But I don't know if immigration or mass immigration is the problem, because when you think that, I think it was 20 million at one point, 20 million slaves were brought into the Americas. You know, and yes, they were brought into the Americas to build up the country and to, you know, help with all the labour aspect of it. And what the country didn't realise or think ahead of is that supposing they start having families here, what do we do? But then, if that is the case, if you've brought over so many, what do you think the repercussions are? You can't just say after that. And then the thing is that those people were free to come and go, you know, at that point. So now they've put in border control. I think it was in 1924. They put in border control. And now after they've got all these people in, now they're saying, oh, well, you know, we want to say who's coming in and who's not coming in now. But you've already taken people out of their country and brought them into yours. And now you're saying you don't want them, which is fine, but compensate them. Compensate their families. You know what I mean? Because when they came over here, they thought that they could actually live here as a right. You know, once the emancipation order came out, they thought they were free people to do as they like. They didn't think that there was a time limit on it. And it's like now the UK of asking 20 nurses to come over from Jamaica to the UK on a Tier 2 visa. Now, those nurses are going to have to look at all the details and not jump on and think, oh, yeah, it's an opportunity to come to England, because if they have a good job in Jamaica, they better not forsake that to come here in a country that's trying to get rid of immigrants. And yes, you're coming over here legally, and there might be a financial incentive somewhere, which is why they're doing it. But just make sure that if anybody knows of any nurses who are planning to come over, that they read the small print, that if they're giving them housing, that it covers the whole period, because housing in the UK is expensive. Living in the UK is expensive. So, as long as they're covered for the tenure that they're here, and then they don't use that tenure to try and stay and create a family and just do the job with the intention of going back, they'll be fine. But like I say, you know, you can't just bring people over and then ship them out when you feel like it, just because there's too many of us now. But that is it. And, you know, people talking about, oh, they're using all our benefits and stuff. I mean, that system is so stringent. I can't even get on it. I can't even get, not that I need benefits, but I can't even get on to get benefits. I don't see how illegal immigrants can get benefits. I think that's a load of tosh. I don't believe they're coming in and using all the benefits in the NHS. Number one, they come over here, they have to pay an NHS charge, and if they are illegal, they have to be registered in order to get the service. Now, I'm not saying if they need emergency service that the A&E are not going to sort them out, but they are going to need to offer their details. They are going to have to offer their information. And it needs to be verified, because the nurses, the hospitals, they work under areas, and wherever that area that person lives, that is the hospital that's supposed to pay for that service. So they can't abuse the way that the government is saying they can abuse, because there are just too many stringent practices in place. Anyway, what I was really trying to say is what the difference is between stateless and undocumented persons, but I've gone over and started talking about something else. So I'm going to stop here. Bye-bye.